Imagine discovering that the person you've shared your life with for 12 years has been living an entirely separate financial existence. A secret life that cost nearly $200,000, built on cards you never knew existed, purchases you never approved, and a deception so complete you question everything you thought you knew about love itself. Welcome to True Crime Explorers. Today we're diving into the case of Marcus Thompson, a man who thought he knew his wife until one envelope changed everything. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our deep dives into the secrets people keep and the moments when everything falls apart. Marriage is supposed to be built on trust. Shared dreams, joint bank accounts, whispered promises. We tell ourselves that love means transparency. But what happens when you discover that every "I love you" came with an asterisk? When the person who vowed to share everything has been keeping secrets that could destroy your entire life? Financial infidelity. For those who experience it, it's the moment you realize every shared smile masked a calculation. Every kiss goodnight preceded another secret transaction. The case of Marcus Thompson isn't just about money, it's about trust, betrayal, and the elaborate architecture of deception that can exist within the most intimate relationship of your life. And here's what makes it chilling. It could happen to anyone. The perfect marriage. Marcus Thompson seemed to have it all figured out. A steady IT job, a comfortable home, and a 12-year marriage that appeared solid. He and his wife Sarah had weathered the usual storms. Job changes, family drama, the everyday negotiations of building a life together. Marcus was a planner. He liked knowing where every dollar went, not out of control, but out of care. He wanted to retire comfortably, take that trip to Italy, know they'd be okay if something went wrong. They had their system, joint checking for household expenses, savings slowly growing. They talked about money like most couples, sometimes with tension, but always, he thought, with honesty. The first crack came on an ordinary Tuesday. Marcus found an envelope on the kitchen counter, addressed to Sarah. Return address, a credit card company he didn't recognize. His stomach tightened. Something made him open it. Minimum payment due $847. Current balance $23,456. Marcus read the numbers 4 times. This wasn't their card. They didn't have a balance of $23,000 on anything except their mortgage. But there was Sarah's name. His wife. The person who'd agreed 3 weeks ago they should cut back on dining out to boost their savings. The unraveling. That evening, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with the statement, waiting. When Sarah came home and saw it, her face went instantly white. "I can explain," she said, the 3 words that never actually explain anything. But Sarah couldn't explain. The story came in fragments, tears, contradictions. Yes, she'd opened a credit card. Just one initially. She'd needed some things. Clothes for work, gifts, expenses that added up faster than anticipated. She'd planned to pay it off before Marcus noticed. But 1 card became 2. 2 became 4. Every time she got close to paying 1 down, an emergency came up. A friend's destination wedding, a necessary home improvement, a sale too good to pass up. "How many cards?" Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah couldn't look at him. 7. 7 credit cards, 7 accounts. Marcus never knew existed. Sarah had been juggling them for 3 years, transferring balances, taking cash advances from one to pay minimums on another, always one missed payment away from collapse. Marcus demanded to see everything. Over the next hours, they calculated the damage. $23,000, $31,000, $18,000, $27,000, $15,000. Total, $197,384. Nearly $200,000 that Marcus hadn't known existed, accumulated on cards he'd never seen, for purchases he'd never approved. How do you hide that much debt? Sarah had been meticulous. Separate email account, PO box for statements, cash back from grocery shopping to cover minimums. Freelance work she claimed was for fun money, but every penny serviced secret debt. Marcus found himself questioning everything. Had she really been at her mother's house or meeting with creditors? When she said she loved his birthday gift, was that real or performance? How much of their marriage had been authentic? The fallout. They tried counseling. The therapist asked Sarah why. Sarah talked about pressure, wanting to maintain appearances, growing up poor. the rush from buying things, temporary relief from anxiety. She talked about shame, how the debt started small, but admitting it felt impossible, so she buried it deeper. The therapist used terms like compulsive buying disorder and shopping addiction. Marcus heard the words, but couldn't reconcile them with betrayal. Maybe Sarah was sick, but she'd also chosen every day for 3 years to deceive him, to jeopardize their future. The legal situation was complicated. They lived in a community property state. Debt acquired during marriage could be considered joint obligation, regardless of whose name was on the account. Marcus's options weren't great. Divorce might not protect him from the debt. Bankruptcy would destroy his credit for years. Marcus made a surprising choice. He stayed, not out of love that had curdled, but pragmatism. They'd tackle the debt together because it was the only way to survive it, but the marriage, as it existed, was over. They created a brutal payment plan. No eating out, no vacations, no entertainment beyond basic streaming. They sold Sarah's car, cancelled gym memberships. Every available dollar went to debt. Sarah surrendered every credit card. Marcus controlled all finances. Sarah's debit card had a daily limit. She submitted receipts for review. It was less marriage than financial rehabilitation. At $4,000 per month, nearly half their income, it would take 6 years to clear the debt. 6 years of resentment growing where love used to live. The broader picture, Marcus and Sarah's story isn't unique. Research suggests financial infidelity affects 30 to 40% of couples. Nearly half of all relationships involve some financial deception, hidden purchases, secret accounts, undisclosed debt. Financial infidelity is often more damaging than sexual infidelity. A National Endowment for Financial Education survey found 2/3 of couples experiencing financial deception said it affected their relationship negatively. More than half divorced. Why is it so devastating? Because money represents security, future planning, shared goals, and fundamental trust. When someone lies about money, they're hijacking the future you thought you were building together. The signs are often there: secretiveness about spending, unopened mail, defensive reactions, new accounts appearing. But love can make us willfully blind. We want to trust, and that desire is exactly what allows deception to flourish. What happened to Marcus and Sarah? 3 years after discovery, they'd paid down $120,000, a remarkable achievement requiring unimaginable sacrifice, but the marriage didn't survive. They divorced after 4 years. The court divided the remaining balance. Marcus still pays his portion, working a second job, living in a modest apartment that feels empty. Sarah's in therapy for shopping addiction, working multiple jobs, rebuilding. She's expressed remorse, but acknowledges some betrayals can't be forgiven, even when understood. Here's what this teaches us. Love without transparency isn't really love, it's performance. Trust, once shattered so completely, is nearly impossible to rebuild. Not just about choosing to trust again, but believing you were right to trust in the first place. Marcus Thompson woke up thinking he knew his wife. By evening, he didn't know her at all. The woman he'd slept next to for 12 years had been a stranger who'd stolen his future, dollar by dollar, lie by lie. That's the real cost of the $200,000 secret, not the money, though devastating, but knowing the person you loved most was capable of looking you in the eye every day while systematically destroying everything you'd built together. Have you experienced financial betrayal in a relationship? Let me know in the comments. Sharing helps us realize we're not alone. If you found this case compelling, hit that like button and subscribe to True Crime Explorers. Next week, we're exploring another betrayal, but this time, the secret isn't money, it's identity. Until then, stay curious, and remember, the person you think you know best might be the person you don't know at all.